Here's the other problem is the black girl. Let's take the cover girls for the Wall Street Journal. Last week, it resurfaced again. Asia Wilson telling Kelsey Plum about, white privilege and blah, blah, blah. And, Asia Wilson, again, we've talked about on this show, some of her friends. Asia Wilson's pretty unlikable and pretty mean-spirited, despite all the dressing up. Her BFF is some dude that pretends to be a woman named Dolores that harasses people online, and they want to do all this. Well, I face death threats, and everybody's out to get me. And turns out it's Asia Wilson's BFF doing a lot of it. We got unlikable. Angel Reese, really unlikable. I mean, just really unlikable. And trust me, it's hard for most men to dislike a woman who puts her butt on display everywhere she goes, and she's got a pretty big one and a good one. But she's unlikable. And yesterday we got another example, I think, of her on her own podcast complaining about how she can't afford an $8,000 a month rent payment. It's the epitome of first world problems. It's the epitome of first world stupidity. It's the epitome of just Angel Reese not being well thought out. I want to play this clip of Angel Reese talking about how the WNBA can't pay her bills.
I just hope y'all know the WNBA don't pay my bills at all. I don't even think that pays one of my bills. Literally. I'm trying to think of like my rent for where I stay at. I'm going to do the math real quick.
It might cover that. Yeah, it covers that. It definitely covers that.
What is I don't even know my salary. 74? I don't even know my salary. Does it? Let me see. You don't even... Yo! I'm living beyond my means. It's like... No, my rent is more than that. It's $8,000. I'm living beyond my means, like y'all think.
Unlikable. I'm just sorry. She's just out of college. She's 22, 23. She can barely hit layups. She's getting paid $74,000 for the WNBA. She's got, I'm sure, endorsement deals into the seven figures. So that's why she's laughing about this. And like, she's bragging how much money she makes, and she doesn't need her WNBA salary. And I live in an $8,000 a month apartment, and blah, blah, blah. She's 22, 23 years old. And again, these are the same WNBA women and same black women that want to be pro-social justice, and they're looking out for black people and blah, blah. She's mocking working class people. I got out of college, Steve, at 23, and I made $5 an hour at the Bloomington Herald-Times. And it was part-time work. I didn't get 40 hours a week. Most people don't come out of college and make $74,000 a year, but that's how spoiled and entitled. And so these players they're trying to build around, they're unlikable, Steve.
It's times like this where I think to myself, where have you gone, Kevin Samuels? You are really, but thankfully you're there to fill the Nikes there. First of all, let's unpack all of this. The LSU math department, I really hope she wasn't a math major. Look, I'm an Asian. I'm not even good at math. I knew 12 times 8 is 96,000. Now, if that doesn't cover any of your bills, a couple points here. The average American salary I've read is anywhere between 45 to 50,000. The WNBA season is not 12 months. In fact, it's not even half a year. The sense of entitlement that somehow that you're underpaid in a league that has never turned a profit and is subsidized by men. Yeah, men it's just mind-boggling to me. And the other thing is, you're right. She really comes off. If I am these other players in the WNBA that do not have her profile, I think to myself, if you have any self-awareness, Caitlin Clark is not my problem. She's not my enemy. She is. And by the way she's been dressing and showing up. All right, if you need help paying rent, is a Angel Reese OnlyFans coming up next? I mean, it's kind of the next step. Can't pay the bills, got to pay the rent. Showing a lot of skin. She looks okay for now. You know, other words, and other people have called it only rebounds. Ta-da-ta. All right, now, about A'ja Wilson. I got to get into this.
Hold for 1 second. Hold for 1 second. Hold for 1 second, Steve. Because sometimes, man, you need to slow down and you need to appreciate the greatness of some of the things you say and clarify and belabor them and finish that point. You've made an excellent point here in terms of who is the real problem. Yeah. Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese? Because, again, Angel Reese is undermining the league with her unlikability. The reason why people are jumping on board and everyone's is they finally found a player who's halfway likable in Caitlin Clark and who doesn't rub their wealth, privilege, and entitlement down everyone's throat and force it on like I'm supposed to be special. You've made an outstanding point that Angel Reese is the one that is going to hurt people's pocketbooks while Caitlin Clark is filling up people's pocketbooks.
I mean, Jason, every time these ladies do not have to go on Frontier and Spirit and bring their boxing gloves and their headgear, they should do the Barry Bonds home run point. Or literally, I've said this before and I'll say it again. They should get a fat head on every plane of Caitlin Clark's mug. And every time they sit down, touch that face, just like a football team. Like, we will play like champions. Just touch that face, like, just give it a thumbs up. Like, way to go, white girl. Thanks. Now, I want to get to A'ja Wilson. If you want to get to the whole cultural, racial thing, I want to say this as a crouching tiger. My continent is not your name, A'ja. By the way, have you ever noticed none of these girls named A'ja are ever Chinese, Japanese, Chinese? They're not even ever Thai. I don't get it. I thought for years her name was Ajay. I really did. That's how little I knew. But on a serious point, when I began this WNBA journey, this fearless journey with Jason Whitlock, I didn't know who Miss Wilson was. I really didn't. But as I was force-fed this information after years and months of browbeating, this is what I learned about Miss Wilson, that she's the best player, that she's iconic. She's going to be a Hall of Famer. And you look at her numbers, you're like, wow, she is the best player. She must be given credit for that. But Jason, you know what I've really learned, though, as I delve deeper into this and I get to know her more from a periphery standpoint? Wow, she's unlikable. That's the thing that I've learned, that she is more and more unlikable. She's abrasive. She's a race peddler. And she actually hurts the cause as the best player in the league. That sounds familiar, like another basketball player, but that's for another segment, Jason.
She's a reflection of Don Staley and Don Staley's leadership style, worldview, all of that. That's who she played for. It's not all Don Staley players. Again, Aaliyah Boston has a whole different vibe and mentality and energy around her. But A'ja Wilson certainly does, has this entitlement. They gaslight and drag other people into it. But Steve, I'm telling you, last night, a problem. That was a really good game. The Liberty came back from a 15-point deficit, and Sabrina Ionescu hit a logo three that will be, I mean, it's similar. She's not the same player as Michael Jordan, but it's similar to Michael Jordan over Craig Elo. There have been no moments in the WNBA that have ever mattered because no one was watching. There was a tree falling in the wood. And so everything that happens in 2024, it has a heightened importance. Because of what Caitlin Clark has done, there's now eyeballs and attention, and we're interested. And anybody that watched last night was like, oh, that was fascinating. And to see this girl knock down this three and win this game, it's a moment we're going to remember. I'm going to remember that three-point shot. I'm not saying everybody here watched it, but that highlight will be played over and over and over again. And it's like,
all right,
all we'll have from these other guys is bitching and moaning.
Wait a minute. I got to ask a serious question here. The aesthetics of the show, I care about that. If they go on to win the title, will Sabrina's jersey join the Wall of Fame? Or will there be a mural in the back, Jason, of that particular shot? Are we doing that?
No, we're not. Because
okay.
Sabrina does a little bit too much. Caitlin. Yeah, she bows down to the BLM crowd. I'm not fully on board with her, and so no, she won't. But you got any?
Yeah, I got
as the resident white guy in here,
resident.
You're carrying this show and not getting the credit for it, Butter. You're no different than Caitlin and Sabrina. Go ahead.
I got you covered. I got two quick statements and then sort of a question. One is, where does a guy got to go to see these Angel Reese G-string pictures? Because I haven't seen them.
They're everywhere.
It's called Twitter.
Respect.
It's called X. What have you been under a rock?
I'd like to see what we're dealing with here. I need some more evidence before I levy an opinion on that.
Butter, let me speak for the chat. I'm sure this is in the chat. You ain't built for Caitlin. You ain't built for Angel Reese, bro.
Hey, you don't know.
She's on record. 6'3" or taller.
I don't know how I got the name Butter.
Yeah, I'm an Asian guy. Neither am I, Jason, admittedly.
I got the name Butter for some good reasons. Two, it sounds like you need Drew Rosenhaus negotiating your contracts back in the day. $5 an hour. Drew would have never settled for that. My real point, though, is that I don't think they have a white girl problem. I think they have a balance sheet problem. And I'm not totally sure that Caitlin Clark would have this level of interest in the whole thing without this hate, without what's going on. I don't know if her story isolated alone, if there wasn't, we would have this much talk and this much excitement around it. So I actually think it kind of promotes the league, similar to when we talk about the NFL refereeing or certain. I think this promotes the league in a great way. It keeps the chatter up. Not as good without it.
Okay, Butter, I can agree with you on that, but the Wall Street Journals shouldn't be part of that hate. Let the players hate, let fans hate, but the Wall Street Journal, if they're telling the story, hey, what went on here in 2024, you got to tell it through the lens of Caitlin Clark, not A'ja Wilson and Angel Reese.
I think the Wall Street Journal is mirroring what's been going on in general with this league and in general Butter, with the coverage. I don't think they're isolated.
Butters, yes. I basically really disagree with that point, because those fine people that have been following Caitlin Clark since her days at Iowa, that just really like her, I don't think they necessarily enjoy being painted as racist because they wear a 22 Iowa Hawkeye jersey. They didn't ask for anything. They like this one player, which is their right, whether she's white or not. The same attendance figures for all of the Indiana Fever games would be what they are with or without this ancillary coverage, which I feel to be very, very one-sided.
Don't miss a second of Fearless. Hit that like button and subscribe to keep up with our latest content.